Sam and Poppy's Magical Creek Adventure. In a small village nestled between rolling hills and the edge of a thick forest, there lived a boy named Sam. Sam was a curious child, always eager to explore. He loved to run through the grassy fields behind his house and spend hours by the creek, watching tadpoles swim and listening to the birds singing high in the branches. But what Sam loved most of all was visiting the old oak tree. The oak tree stood tall, with a wide trunk and branches that reached towards the sky like arms open for a hug. It was his favorite spot, and there was a perfect nook in its roots that was just right for sitting. Sam would bring a book, an apple, and sometimes even his sketch pad. It was there that he felt the world around him slow down. He could hear every leaf rustle, see every squirrel scamper, and smell the earth beneath him. One summer afternoon, as the sun was starting to dip below the horizon, Sam was sitting in his usual spot when he heard a sound. It was faint, like the gentle splashing of water coming from deeper in the woods. He tilted his head, listening more intently. There it was again. It wasn't splashing exactly, but more like laughter, soft, gentle laughter that seemed to dance on the breeze. Sam stood up, curiosity bubbling inside him. He took a step towards the forest. He wasn't scared. The woods were familiar, like an old friend. As he stepped over the roots and into the trees, the sound grew clearer. He pushed aside branches and ducked under leaves, following the laughter until he came to a small clearing he had never seen before. In the middle of the clearing, there was a tiny creek. The water was so clear that Sam could see pebbles and shiny stones beneath its surface. Kneeling by the edge of the creek was a girl about his age. She wore a dress the color of blueberries, and her hair was wild, like she had been running through the forest all day. The girl looked up, and her eyes sparkled like the sun on water. "Hello," she called, her voice ringing with joy. "I was wondering when you'd come." Sam blinked in surprise. You were waiting for me?" he asked, stepping closer. The girl nodded, her smile widening. "Of course. My name is Poppy. I saw you sitting by the old oak and thought you looked like someone who likes adventures." "Do you?" Sam grinned. "I love adventures," he said. Poppy's eyes twinkled. "Perfect, because I need some help. You see, the creek here used to be much fuller, but something's blocked the water upstream. I can't move it alone. Will you help me?" Sam nodded without hesitation. "Lead the way!" Together, they followed the creek deeper into the woods. The air was cool, and the light grew softer as the sun dipped lower. Poppy led Sam along the winding path, pointing out mushrooms that looked like tiny umbrellas and showing him where deer had left tracks in the soft earth. They crossed a log bridge, climbed over fallen branches, and even tiptoed around a patch of flowers that Poppy said were home to sleepy bees. The further they went, the more Sam felt like they were in a hidden corner of the forest, one filled with wonder and possibility. Finally, they reached a place where the creek had stopped flowing. A pile of branches and leaves had formed a dam, and the water pooled behind it, barely trickling through. Poppy put her hands on her hips and looked at Sam. "See, we just need to clear this away." Sam rolled up his sleeves and smiled. "Easy enough." Working together, Sam and Poppy began to pull the branches free. Some of them were heavy, but they laughed as they tugged and worked, slipping occasionally in the mud. Poppy told Sam stories as they worked, about the forest, about the animals that lived there, and about how the creek had once been a place where deer came to drink, and birds played in the shallow waters. As they worked, Sam noticed the small things. A beetle crawling over a leaf, the way the water sparkled as it began to flow again, and the gentle rustling of the wind in the trees. They took short breaks, sitting on a large rock and sharing the apple Sam had brought, while Poppy pointed out different birds that flew overhead. After what felt like a long time, they finally pulled away the last branch, and the water rushed forward, bubbling and sparkling. It flowed over the pebbles and down the creek bed, making a gentle gurgling sound that seemed to say, "Thank you." Poppy clapped her hands in delight, and Sam felt a warmth spread through him. He watched as the water spread through the clearing, filling the creek once more. Birds returned, chirping excitedly, and even a frog hopped over to investigate. "We did it," Sam said, looking at Poppy. She smiled at him, her eyes bright. "We did. Thank you, Sam." Sam shrugged, a little embarrassed but happy. "It was fun. I'm glad I could help." Poppy looked at the sky, which had now turned a soft purple as the first stars began to appear. "You should probably head home," she said, her voice gentle. "But come back soon, okay? There's always more to explore." Sam nodded, a smile spreading across his face. "I'll be back," he promised. He turned and made his way back through the woods, following the now bubbling creek. When he reached the old oak tree, he looked back, but the clearing seemed to have vanished into the dusk. Sam climbed out from the roots of the oak and ran across the fields towards home, the sky darkening above him, the stars twinkling like tiny promises of new adventures. And from that day on, Sam visited the woods every chance he got, always keeping an ear out for the sound of laughter and the sparkle of a new adventure just waiting to be found. One autumn afternoon, Sam found Poppy waiting for him by the creek again. This time she had a basket with her. "There's a special place I want to show you," she said, her eyes filled with excitement. They set off together, the basket swinging between them, filled with snacks and a small blanket. They walked deeper into the forest, past the creek and through a grove of tall pines that smelled like fresh rain. Poppy led Sam to a hill where they climbed up to find a wide view of the village below, the fields, and even the old oak in the distance. They laid out the blanket and sat side by side, sharing bread and berries while watching the sun dip low in the sky. The horizon turned orange, then pink, then a deep purple, and Sam felt a sense of peace wash over him. "This is my favorite spot," Poppy said softly. "I come here when I want to remember how big the world is and how much there is to see." Sam nodded, understanding. "It's beautiful," he said. They sat in silence for a while, just listening to the breeze and watching the stars appear, one by one. Sam knew in that moment that this was the kind of adventure he loved best, not grand or dangerous, but simple and full of wonder with a friend by his side. Eventually, they packed up their things and made their way back down the hill, the blanket folded neatly in Poppy's basket. They walked slowly, savoring every moment, until they reached the clearing by the creek where they had first met. "I'll see you soon, Sam," Poppy said, her smile warm and bright in the moonlight. Sam smiled back. "Definitely," he replied. He watched as Poppy turned and disappeared into the forest, her blueberry-colored dress blending with the shadows of the trees. Sam made his way home, his heart light and his mind filled with thoughts of the next adventure. And as he lay in bed that night, he could still hear the gentle laughter of the forest, calling him back to where the possibilities were endless. And every day held the promise of something new.